What's up, everybody? Azariel here for another Yu-Gi-Oh! 101 video. And this video is going to be a special video of sorts that has been in the making for quite some time. As you can see in the title, I will be speaking on the Von Schroider starter decks that I had, you know, that I had spoken on in my last uploading schedule vid. Now for those who don't know, like what this video is uh, um, relating to. Last year, a fan of this show or a viewer of sorts had asked me a very good question. He or she had asked me if I were to release two booster packs from the Yu-Gi-Oh anime, like for two characters that didn't have any other releases yet, which to um which to like which two characters I would pick and why. Well, what I did was I took that idea, and instead of me making two booster packs, I decided to make two uh starter decks instead, because I felt, like that would be a much better idea than just two, you know, like booster packs or what have you. Um, you had to give me something to drink there for a minute, but yeah, I just felt that it would be like much better if I would, like make them into two starter decks, because that way I felt like it would have been a good way to introduce, these cards into the game, like, in an actual build format. You know what I mean? So what I did with that is that I made a two-part video, um, one for Leon von Schroider and one for Zigfried von Schroider. And what I did was I just gave the rundown of all the cards that they used, like in the anime, but I didn't, give which cards that I would include in their uh, starter decks. That's where that's where this video comes in. This video will be a two-part video as well. This first part will be for Zigfried von Schroider and his starter deck, and of course, like part two will be for Leon. Uh, Now, for a while now, I've went through these cards that they had on the site, um, like for Siegfried von Schroider, and I made a deck list uh of 40 cards for each deck, and you know I thought, long and hard about it, like about each card that I was going to include. Of course, there's some cards that are in this list, well, that are on the list that are no longer, um, you know, uh, um, playable at the moment. So, of course, I had to do some adjustments. But with that being said, all of these cards are relatively new. There's some new things that I'm trying to introduce with this archetype. I mean, like with this, build, some new strategies or what have you. And I'm really just trying to introduce the, new things into the game. Now there may be one or two cards in here, which of course I will talk about, that I will release in, like maybe some booster pack, like later on down the line. But these are cards that I have for the Zigfried von Schroider um, um, starter deck. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on, of course, each of the cards that I have on the list um, like for the starter deck. That way, like, you guys can view them like as well. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, for the monsters, of course, like with the monsters, it was, kind of easy for me to pick, which ones that I was going to include into the starter deck because, as you'll see, like there's not many of them. But yeah, so let's just start off with the monsters. So first one we have the ace of the build, which is Valkyrie Brunhilde. Uh, it is a light, excuse me, very fairy effect monster, level 7, attack 1800, defense 2000. In the description, while this card is face up on the field, it gains 300 attack for each dragon type and warrior type monster on the field. If this, I'm sorry for that. This mouse pad is jumping on my laptop, but yeah. If this card would be destroyed by battle, you can have it lose 1000 defense instead. So that's the ace monster of the Valkyrie build. Next, we have Valkyrie Dritte, and it is a light fairy effect monster. Level 4, attack 1000, defense 1600. In the description, this card gains 100 attack for each remove from play monster. And next, we have Valkyrie Erste. And it is also a light fairy effect monster, level 6, attack 1600, defense 1800. Description: once per turn, you can remove from play one monster from your opponent's graveyard. This turn, this card's original attack becomes equal to the original attack of that removed monster. They really got to fix that text. Next up, we have Valkyries Way, and it is a light fairy effect monster, level 5, attack 1600, defense 1600. Description: when this card is summoned, select one monster your opponent controls and destroy it. So that's that. And then we have a new union monster that I will be introducing, which is something that we haven't seen in the game for a while. Like new union, actual union monsters. Um, this is Valkyrie. This is not Valkyrie, but this is Fortune Chariot, and it is a Wind Fairy Union monster. Wind Fairy Union monster, level 6, attack, defense 0. Description: once per turn during your main phase, you can equip this card to a Valkyrie monster you control as an equipped card, or unequip it to special summon this card and face up attack position. Once per turn, while equipped to a monster by this card's effect, you can have the equipped monster's original attack this turn. If you do, it can attack your opponent directly this turn. A monster, of course, like the the typical things that you would get with a union monster. If the monster it's equipped to would be destroyed, that means that you can destroy the union monster instead. So these are all the monsters, and my arrow is just jumping all over the place for some reason. But okay, and on to the spell cards that I selected for the build. Now, the spell cards are what gave me the most trouble, obviously because there's more. But like I said, like there's a couple cards that I had to replace. I'm like one or two. Um, I'm looking at it right now. Okay, yeah, like it was one card that I had replaced with the cards that I had, picked. But yeah. So the first card that I had picked, well, the first spell card that I picked for this build is the card Goddess Skuld's Oracle, and it's a continuous spell card. As you can see, it's right here. Um, um, it's a continuous spell card. Description: once per turn, you can look at the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck and return them to the top of the deck in any order. The second card uh, out of the spells, Urd's Verdict. It is also a continuous spell card. In the description, once per turn, you can select one face-down card your opponent controls and declare a card name. If that card is the declared card, remove that card from play. Then next we have Verdandi's Guidance. Verdandi's Guidance and description. I mean, it also is a continuous spell card. In the description, once per turn, you can declare the card type, monster, spell, or trap of the top of your opponent's deck. If you guessed correctly, apply an appropriate effect. Monster, special summon. Your opponent special summons it in face down defense position. Spell or trap card, your opponent sets it. Next up, we have Pegasus Wings. Pegasus Wings. That was the next card that I picked. And we have it right here. Pegasus Wings. It's a normal spell card. Description: activate if only if there is a Fortune Chariot in your graveyard. Select one face-up Valkyrie monster and have its attack. It can attack your opponent directly this turn. And the next card I had for the spells was going to be Pot of Greed, but of course Pot of Greed is banned, so we can't use that. So instead, what I did is I replaced Pot of Greed with a sword, with a card, says sword, with a card that that will come tomorrow in Lord of the Tachyon Galaxy, called Treasured Sword of the Seven Stars. Now it's basically like a more balanced Pot of Greed. You banish one level 7 monster from your hand or your side of the field, and then you get to draw 2 cards. So that's like a more balanced, uh, version of Pot of Greed. Yeah, so next after that we have Rainbow Bridge Bifrost. Rainbow Bridge Bifrost. And what this card does, it's a normal spell card, and what you do is you select one face-up Valkyrie monster you control. It gains 500 attack for each removed from play monster until the end phase. So that's each removed play monster on your side and your opponent's side. So after that, we got Swan Maiden. Swan Maiden. Swan Maiden. It's a normal spell card, and you get to special summon one Valkyrie monster from your hand. And after that, we have Valkyries Embrace. Valkyries Embrace, and it's a normal spell card. The description: select one face-up Valkyrie monster you control and one monster your opponent controls. Change the battle position of your selected monster and remove from play your opponent's monster, your opponent's selected monster. And also I had Final Light. Added Final Light to the build. It's a normal spell card. Description: pay 1,000 life points to select one light monster in your graveyard. Special summon it. Then your opponent can special summon one monster with 2,000 or less attack from their graveyard in face-up attack position. And then we had Ride of the Valkyries. And it's a normal spell card. Description: special summon as many Valkyrie monsters from your hand as possible. At the end of this turn, return all monsters special summon this way to your deck. Uh, Now what we going with? Oh yeah, the traps. On to the traps. Now the traps again, like it wasn't too difficult, to pick as to how many I was gonna put in the build. It was relatively easy, so let's move on to the traps. We have Apple of Enlightenment. It's a normal trap card. Description: when this card is when this card is removed from the field, draw one card. Sorry about that. I had to cough. So moving on this one. Moving on to the next one. Fricka's Meditation. Fricka's Meditation. And it's a normal trap card. Description: remove from play one Wotan's Judgement from your graveyard. You take no battle damage this turn. And up next is Loge's Flame, or Loge's Flame. And it's a continuous trap card. Description: you can your opponent cannot attack with monsters that have 2,000 or less attack. When a monster is attacked, destroy this card. When this card is removed from the field, you can special summon one Valkyrie Brunhilde from your hand or deck. And last but not least, for the traps, we have Wotan's Judgement. And it's a counter trap card. Description: activate only when a monster is selected as an attack target. Switch the top card of your deck with a spell card in your hand, then shuffle your deck to negate the attack and end the battle phase. So that's a pretty decent card. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run down how many copies of each card I have for, each type of card in a build. Okay, for the monsters, I have 3 Zways, I have 3 Ersts, 3 Drites, I have 3 other Brunhildes, I have 3 Fortune Chariots, and for the spells, I have 1 Skuld's Oracle, 1 Urd's Verdict, 1 Verdandi's Guidance, I have 2 Pegasus Wings, I have 1 Treasured Sword of the 7 Stars, I have 3 Rainbow Bridge Bifrost, I have 2 Swan Maidens, I have 3 Valkyries Embraces, I have 2 Loge Flames, I have 2 Wotan's Judgement, 2 Fricka's Meditation, and 2 Apples of Enlightenment, and I have 2 Final Lights, and I have 1 Ride of the Valkyrie. So that's the 40 cards that I picked for this build. Now I'm gonna move on to some of the ways that this build can be used. Alright, so let's talk about some of the strategies that are in this build. Alright, so this deck is focused on you being able to remove your opponent's monsters from their deck and being able to banish them before they have a chance to use them. And by doing so, you'll be able to power up your own monsters. With cards, such as Drit, who has his own effect, for, this card gains 100 attack for each removed from play monster. Also, get rid of that. Also, by using Rainbow Bridge Bifrost, you'll be able to power up your monster's attack by 500 for each removed from play monster. So this is a good card to have in the starter deck. Now, how do you remove from play your opponent's monsters? Well, the main thing that you want to use are the three goddess cards. You have Skuld's Oracle, like Vernandy's Guidance, and Urd's Verdict. Now, they activate like in this order. First with Skuld's Oracle. Uh, Once per turn, you can look at the top three cards of your opponent's deck and return them to the top of the deck in any order. Now, once you do that, you'll be able to activate. Like then you want to activate um, Vernandy's Guidance, and as you can see right here, once per turn, you can declare the card type, monster, spell, or trap at the top of your opponent's deck. If you guess correctly, apply an appropriate effect. Monster card, you special summon it in face down defense position. Spell or trap card, your opponent sets it. And of course, like because of Skull's Oracle, you know, um, there really isn't any, guessing as to what that top card would be. And then once you figure that out, then that's when you activate Urd's Verdict and you banish the monster or that face down spell or trap because this card it allows you to target either monsters or the spells or traps. It's a once per turn you can select one face down card, so it can be in the monster zone or the spell and trap card zone as long as it's face down. So like these three are meant to be used in unison with each other. So I mean, of course, individually they have their own strengths, but all together, like these can be like a pretty good combo, like for all three of them. Also, you can use um, Valkyrie's Embrace, which is another card that is relatively easy to use only for the archetype. You can see right here, select one face-up Valkyrie monster you control and one monster your opponent controls. Change the battle position of your selected monster and remove from play your opponent's selected monster. So this will be like something good. Let's say, for example, if you have like a face-down, um, like one face-up, like defense position Valkyrie monster on your side of the field, and your opponent has like a monster on their side of the field uh, that you want to get rid of, and like here's the way to do that. It's a very good way to do it. That card is awesome. And mm, and what else we got? Pegasus Wings. No, I think that's pretty much it for like the remove from play strategy. So then we can focus on the swarming abilities of this build because it does have a lot. Um, See with cards like Zwei, Erst, and with cards like Brunhilde, the monsters, like they're level 5, level 6, and level 7 respectively. Each of them are level 7 like that. So, like the way you can summon these monsters easy is with cards such as um, like Swan Maiden. Like you can special summon one Valkyrie monster from your hand, regardless of its level. Let me X out all these. So that's one basic way to do it. Of course, like you'll be able to use the Ride of the Valkyries, like as like one, like final like attack measure to finish off your opponent. But of course, like it does have that drawback at the end of at the end of the turn. Then all the monsters have to go back to the deck, which is good. Also, we have cards such as Pegasus Wing, which leads me into my next uh, strategy for this deck. Where you'll be able to attack your opponent directly. As you can see right here, activate only if there's a Fortune Chariot in your graveyard. Select one face-up Valkyrie monster and have its attack. It can attack your opponent directly this turn. And with Fortune Chariot, it has that effect as well. That if that the monster that it's equipped to, that if you have its attack, you'll be able to attack your opponent directly. And the monster itself, that's a level 6, which you'll be able to do some exceed summoning with Erste. I believe this is a level 6. Yep, you'll be able to do some exceed summoning with Erste. And of course, other with cards like Erste in itself, this is another way, I believe. Yeah, like this is another way you'll be able to like remove your opponent's monster cards out of their graveyard. So there you go. So that's another way to do it. So let's talk about some of these traps. I mean, it wasn't really too much with the traps. I mean, obviously with like Hilda's. I mean, I was talking about Hilda. Like Wotan's Judgement. Like this is a pretty unique card. I mean, it does have an effect that you don't really see that much of. Activate only when a monster is selected for as an attack target. Switch the top card with a spell card in your hand. So that way that like you'll be able to, like just like change out, one spell card that you may not need at that moment with possibly getting another one, that's at the top of your deck. And or like another monster or what have you. And then of course, you'll be able to end the battle phase and stop your opponent's attack. So this is a pretty good unique card, I would say. And then when that card is in the graveyard, you'll be able to activate this, and it's basically Wabuko. It's basically that card. Like I'm pretty sure some people that run this build would probably switch out this like with Wabuko, like just for the simple fact that it does what this does and more, and plus you won't have to worry about having Watan's Judgment in the graveyard in order to activate it. You know what I mean? So, but I still want to include this into the starter deck because, like I said, I'm trying to introduce some new cards into the game via the starter deck. So there you go, right there. So next we have a Final Light. We have Final Light and some more swarm tactics with this deck. You pay 1,000 life points. Of course, you'll be able to special summon one light monster from your graveyard, and then your opponent's special summons one monster with 2,000 or less attack from their graveyard and face up attack position. And then you can use cards like Logan's Flame. And that way that monster that just got special summoned can attack. Not to mention you can use other cards to lower your opponent's attack to make sure that they won't be able to do anything. With cards, such as shrink or what have you. Um, and then on top of that, when a monster is attacked, uh, when a monster on your side of the field is attacked, you'll be able to destroy this card and you'll be able to special summon uh, like one Valkyrie Brunhilde from your hand or your deck. So that's a good way to summon her from your, I mean, quickly. That'll be a good way to summon her quickly, and she has her own, you know, like unique effects. Like she can prevent her own like destruction by you choosing to lower her defense instead, like by 1,000. So she'll be able to use this attack. I mean, like like that effect twice. Like before it's all over, said and done. And you say, of course, while this card is in face-up attack position, it gains 300 attack for each dragon and warrior type monster. So I believe that like the name of that card is like DNA surgery. Like you'll be able to switch this to like a warrior type monster. Like that's just a thought, just a theory. That way, it can raise up its own attack. Or, well, yeah, that is a good idea because like it's for every dragon or warrior type monster on the field. And like these dragon decks are really, starting to pick up again. So of course, like this would be a good card, like to use against them. And if you use uh, uh, DNA surgery on her, she'll be able to like raise her own attack. Now, amongst all these cards that I put in this starter deck, it was some that I didn't put in there, but I feel like maybe that they'll be better in like a like later on. I would like release them in a booster pack, and these cards are Enchanted Sword, Natung, and this is an equipped spell card. Description: the equipped monster gains 400 attack. When you equip this card, destroy and remove from play all face-up dragon-type monsters your opponent controls. If the equipped monster battles a dragon-type monster, destroy that monster at the start of the damage step without applying damage calculation. I would release this in a booster pack. This completely shuts down dragons, and that they get out of hand from time to time, and they're starting to pick up again, and they're going to be an annoyance. So this will be a good way to just kill them. Not to mention you'll be able to use it with cards such as um uh uh DNA surgery. Turn all the monsters up to dragon. Into dragon types, and you'll be able to use this. Like while you don't have any monsters on the field, of course. And you'll be able to equip it to a monster on your opponent's side of the field and still have all that activating. Then we have Erda's Guidance. Erda's Guidance is another unique card that I don't think we've seen too many of. Erda's Guidance it's a normal spell card. Description: discard one spell card, select one trap card from your graveyard, and set it. So this helps you reset, trap cards that you may need again. The next one is Magical Alms. Now I felt kind of iffy about this one for a multitude of reasons. It's a continuous spell card, and the description is when you activate this card, gain 1,000 life points during each player's turn. The turn player can guess how many spell cards they will activate for the rest of this turn. For the rest of that turn, then both players gain 500 points, get 500 life points times the number of spell cards guessed. During the end phase of a turn, this effect is used. If the turn player activated less or more spell cards than guessed after they use this effect, they take 1,000 damage times the number of spell cards they activated after they use this card's effect. So I feel that the prophecies would be able to use this to their advantage, as if they need anything else. Um, Not to mention the other spellcaster, builds out there. Um, I think that this is a this is one of those cards that of course, you'll be able to. Man, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, like I think this would be one of those fun cards to use. Hence the reason why I would put it in a booster pack. I don't know if I would put it in this deck, but I would put it in a booster pack, because I think it's that unique. This one I'm still iffy about. Mischief of the Time Goddess. Skip one turn. Now it's the battle phase of your next turn. I don't know. I don't know if a card like that would ever really be released or not. So, but hey, it's pretend. Like again, I would put it in the booster pack. Next thing we have Nibelung's Ring. Nibelung's Ring, and during your draw phase, draw two cards instead of conducting your normal draw. If a monster card is drawn this way, you must discard one of them. The equipped monster cannot attack or be tributed, and its effects are negated. Um, I don't know about that one either. Uh, Obvious reasons, like it's still a toss up. Nebulon's Treasure. This one is crazy because you get insane draw power with this. Choose one spell card in your deck and activate it on your opponent's side of the field if the conditions are correct. Then you draw five cards. This card probably will never ever get released. So, like we're not even going to look at that one. So that's pretty much it for the cards that I would put in a starter deck if I created a Zigfried von Schroider character starter deck. Again, like I will have the list of the cards, like what cards would be in the starter deck, and the name of the starter deck would of course be the Ride of the Valkyries, like named after this card. I feel like it would be named that, or named after Siegfried von Schroider, which would probably make more sense. But yeah, matter of fact, that's what I'm gonna name it, Siegfried von Schroider. It don't have to have no fancy name to it. Just name it after the character that's using it. But yeah, so that's everything. Again, like in the description, I will have the list of cards, monsters, spells, and traps that I would include in the starter deck, so you guys can see them for yourself. And I will have a link to this page with all these cards on it, so that you guys can look at them. So without further ado, I'm gonna end the video here, and hope you guys enjoyed it. And I'll see you for part 2 for Leon von Schroider's build.